Hello, my name is Bob Nolting, and I am the principal of Andrew High School. Please join us today in taking memory of the victims of 9/11 through the United We Stand video created by the students and staff at Victor J. Andrew High School.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Bryant Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center.
On September 11, 2001, a series of coordinated suicide attacks were perpetrated against the United States when terrorists hijacked 4 commercial passenger jet airliners and intentionally crashed them into various targets.
As fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
Has
I
just
did not
hit.
see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
As a nation, we watched in horror as the events of the day unfolded, and we knew the world would never be the same. We shared emotions of anger, fear, sadness, and empathy for those trapped inside the buildings.
Unfortunately, we'll be going back to Washington after my remarks. Secretary of Rod Pace and Lieutenant Governor will take the podium and discuss education. I do want to thank the folks here at Booker Elementary School for their hospitality. Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
When we thought it could get no worse, the unthinkable occurred, and once again, we watched in horror. The death toll from that day reached over 2,700 lives, with countless others affected by the grief and sorrow of losing friends and loved ones. We watched as family members frantically waited for a word from loved ones, and as others found their answers at the bottom of the rubble. We cried as a nation as we were left to pick up the pieces of this tragic event. Questions of why, how, and or if it could happen again haunted our thoughts. However, in those first few days, we found reasons for hope and inspiration. Stories of heroism, bravery, and kindness started to emerge. We learned of the passengers on Flight 93. When they discovered what had happened to the other hijacked airplanes, they decided that they would rather die heroes than die victims. They saved countless lives that day by rushing the cockpit and forcing the plane to crash into Pennsylvania Field instead of allowing the suicide bombers to reach their intended target. As a nation, we resolved in those first few days to not let fear and anger and ignorance win. We band together and renewed our faith in the things we could hold most dear as a nation: freedom, pride, and hope. In the end, the terrorists never achieved their goal. America did not weaken. America did not bend. In fact, we became stronger, more resilient. We resolved to never forget and to never allow this to happen again. The immediate aftermath of the World Trade Center bombings, the world came together to offer their sympathy and condolences for the victims and to assist the United States in removing from power those responsible for planning the attack, a struggle that continues to this day. On the former site of the Twin Towers, a new memorial will soon be dedicated to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of these events. As with the Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor, this memorial will be a symbol of our determination to stand firm against terrorism and the doctrine of hate.
Students at Andrew High School were deeply affected by the events of that day. Some students found an outlet for their emotions by talking to their friends or parents. Others volunteered their time to relief efforts, while still others expressed their emotions through writing. The 2002 Illusions magazine featured several poems from students sharing their feelings about the event. We would like to read one of those poems written by Ashley McGivney to you now. United, we stand. Goodbye, kids. I love you. I will see you tonight. Have fun at school and try not to fight. I am off to work now. Downtown I go. What is to come? Nobody knows. Today is no different, same as the rest. I rush up the stairs and over to my desk. I was hard at work when I heard the terrible sound, as the heart of our nation crashed to the ground. I held on for a while and then slowly died. This can't be real. I'm still alive. My children need me to come home tonight. They can't be alone. It's just not right. Now, no one in our country will be the same because some terrorists think this is a game. We must come together and show our pride for innocent people like me who have died. We have always been taught we can be what we want to be, brought up in a country where everyone is free. During this tragedy, we must rally with each other to mourn the loss of our sisters and brothers. In memory of all those who have died, we must unite to keep America alive. We will not fall into these terrorist traps. We are much too strong and smart for that. We will not break down, but only get stronger. Our freedom won't end now, but only last longer. Because united we stand and divided we fall. In this country with liberty and justice for all.
Most of the students at Andrew today were too young to remember the events that occurred on that infamous day 10 years ago. You were probably young enough that adults in your life tried to shield the events from you as they were unfolding. However, the events of that day have irrevocably changed and shaped all our lives in more ways than we may even realize. According to one recent article in a major magazine, we now accept less privacy than we did a decade ago. In other words, we have traded some of our freedoms for our safety and security. At airports, we wait in long lines, take off our shoes, and go through full-body scans. The Patriot Act has allowed for increased surveillance of communication and financial records. The formation of the Homeland Security Agency has increased the number of security officers as well. A second major change is that Americans tend to be less tolerant of Islam than in the past. The attacks led to mistrust and strained relationships between members of the Muslim faith and others within the nation. The article also points out that Americans have developed a greater interest and desire to understand Islam, and there has also been an increased interest in learning the Arabic language. For their part, many Islamic religious leaders have reached out to the community and have been more receptive to explaining the details of their faith. Another change pointed out by the article is that since 9/11, Americans have become more respectful of the uniformed services, and our confidence in the armed forces have surged. It is not uncommon to see everyday citizens going up to soldiers or veterans and thanking them for their service. In addition, police and fire personnel have also seen an increase in recognition and pride. A final change that has affected almost every American family in some way has been the participation of the United States in the war on terror. Shortly after the attacks, it was determined that the terrorist plot was first hatched and later financed from Afghanistan. As a result, the United States invaded Afghanistan in an attempt to remove those terrorists. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, several Andrew grads among them, have participated in this continued effort, many paying with their lives. Among those victims are 3 Andrew High School graduates, Kevin Clark, Michael Sutter, and James Evers. Over time, the events of that horrible day may fade into history. We may even reach a point when September 11th is treated like Pearl Harbor and Veterans Day, only stressed on specific milestone anniversaries. One thing is clear. When that first plane flew into the Twin Towers at 8:46 a.m. on September 11th, 2001, America had changed forever. Please join us as we observe a brief moment of silence in remembrance of the victims from that day.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can now